There's a ship in the Arctic. No one is steering it. No one has steered it for 38 years. It has survived blizzards, pack ice, winter storms that shatter steel. It has drifted through some of the most violent water on Earth without a captain, without a crew. On the morning of November 24, 1931, 15 men crawled out of a wooden shelter they had built on the sea ice, walked to the edge of the floe, and looked toward where their ship had been. The Baychimo was gone. They assumed it had sunk. They grieved it. They filed the paperwork. It had not sunk. It would not sink, not for decades. Not until the sea finally decided it had let the ship live long enough. The ship that would become the Baychimo was launched in 1914 in Gothenburg, Sweden. Her original name was the Angermanelfen. She was not built to be remarkable. She was built to be useful. The First World War intervened. When the fighting ended, she changed hands, passed to Britain as part of the war reparations extracted from Germany for shipping losses. One ship among hundreds. A transfer of property, nothing more. In 1921, the Hudson's Bay Company purchased her for $18,000. They renamed her, they repositioned her, they sent her north, the Baychimo, based out of Ardrossan, Scotland. Her purpose was simple: sail the northern coast of Canada, call on remote Inuit trading posts scattered along coastlines that barely appeared on maps, collect the season's fur pelts, and return south before the ice closed in. 9 voyages, 9 successful returns. In October of 1931, she was loaded with $58,000 worth of fur pelts, the entire season's haul, and heading home. She was not a famous ship, she was a working one. And working ships in the Arctic are only as reliable as the ice that surrounds them. October 1st, 1931, Point Barrow, Alaska, the northernmost point of the United States. The Baychimo becomes trapped in pack ice. The crew abandons ship temporarily, crossing half a mile of ice to the town of Barrow on foot. 2 days later, they return. The ship has broken free on its own. They board her again. October 8th, the ice takes her a second time, more thoroughly, more seriously. She is locked. October 15th, the Hudson's Bay Company sends aircraft. 22 crew members are flown out. Back to Vancouver, back to the south, back to warmth and reason. 15 men remain by choice. They intend to wait out the winter if necessary. This is what sailors did, what the Arctic demanded. They salvage materials from the ship and build a wooden shelter on the ice, some distance from the hull, but close enough to walk to. We settle in. November 24, 1931. A powerful blizzard strikes the coast. The men shelter inside. There is nothing else to do. The storm is severe enough that no one goes near the door until it passes. When it abates, they emerge. They look toward where the ship had been. The Baychimo is gone, not damaged, not listing at a distance, not half submerged, showing a mast above the waterline, gone. The ice platform where the men had camped solid, undisturbed. The ship had simply been torn free by the storm and had vanished into the Arctic without trace. The skipper concluded the obvious: she must have broken up. A steel hull in a storm of that force, in those conditions, was not supposed to survive. She had sunk. She had to have sunk. He grieved his ship and began to think about how to file the loss. A few days passed, then an Inuit seal hunter made contact. He had seen the Baychimo 45 miles south of where she had been. The 15 men tracked her down. They found her ice-backed, drifting, intact. They went below. They retrieved the most valuable of the fur pelts from the hold, loaded them onto aircraft, and flew them out. And then they left. For the second time, the final time, the men had decided the Baychimo was dying. They had done what they could for her. The ship had other intentions. January 1932, a man named Leslie Melvin is traveling to Nome by dog sled. Crossing the coast, he sees the Baychimo floating peacefully, alone, unmanned, drifting with the current. He watches. He moves on. A few months later, a company of prospectors spots her. Same condition, same silence, no crew. Moving with the ice, the world is told. The world notes it. Nothing changes. March 1933. A group of Inuit hunters find the ship and decide to board her. They climb onto the deck, go below, begin to explore what was left behind. Then the storm comes. A sudden freak storm, the kind the Arctic produces without warning or reason, closes in around the Baychimo. Within hours, the ice has locked the vessel in. The hunters cannot leave. They are trapped aboard for 10 days. The ghost ship that had been abandoned, that no one could hold on to, that no one could bring home, held a group of living men captive for more than a week. She kept them aboard the way she had once kept her crew, as if she understood what she was built for. August 11, 1933. She is sighted 12 miles off the settlement of Wainwright, Alaska. Local inhabitants board her. So does the crew of a passing vessel, the MS Trader, along with their passenger, a Scottish author and botanist named Isabel Wiley Hutchison, who has been traveling the Arctic and documenting what she finds. She documents a whaleboat, some furniture, salvageable items, all taken. The ship left behind. The Hudson's Bay Company receives word that the Baychimo is still afloat, still too far out to salvage practically. They record the sighting, they do nothing. Every time someone reached the ship, the Arctic found a reason to stop them from bringing it home. July 1934, a group of explorers on a schooner board her. Ice closes in. They leave. September 1935, spotted off the Alaskan coast. Observed from a distance, not reached. November 1939, a captain named Hugh Polson makes a deliberate salvage attempt. He boards the Baychimo. He begins to work. Ice flows close in around him. He is forced to abandon the attempt. He leaves the ship where he found it. By this point, the Baychimo had been drifting unmanned for 8 years. Observers who managed to get close noted visible damage over the years. A missing propeller, reports of listing paint long since stripped to bare steel. She was carrying the weight of every winter she had survived, but she was still there. The ship was sighted numerous times across those years. Every time, bad weather, bad ice, or sheer distance made salvage impossible. Every time, she drifted on into the next season, the next year, the next decade. A group of Inuit at 1969 encountered the Baychimo for the last time. She is frozen fast in the pack ice of the Beaufort Sea between Point Barrow and Icy Cape in the Chukchi Sea off the northwestern Alaskan coast. They observe her. They record what they see. They move on. No one ever reports seeing the Baychimo again. She had been drifting, alone, for 38 years. In 2006, the Alaskan government launched a formal mission to locate the countless ships swallowed by Alaska's unforgiving waters. More than 4,000 vessels were believed lost along the state's vast and treacherous coastline. Among them was one name that stood apart from all the others, Baychimo, the legendary ghost ship of the Arctic. The objective was simple on paper, yet nearly impossible in reality: uncover the fate of a vessel that had haunted the North for decades. Searches were conducted, records were examined, the sea was questioned once more, but the Arctic kept its secret. The Baychimo was not found, not beneath the ocean floor, not trapped within drifting ice, not abandoned along some forgotten shore. Nowhere. Nearly a century after it vanished into the frozen wilderness, the ghost ship remains exactly that, a ghost. And one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history remains unsolved. The sea gave no farewell, no wreckage washed ashore, no debris field was discovered. The Baychimo simply ceased to be seen. She was there, and then she was not. And the ocean closed over her the way oceans always do, completely, without ceremony, without explanation. Researchers believe the hull, subjected to temperature cycling every year for decades, battered by storms and ice and the physics of metal fatigue, eventually succumbed, likely somewhere in the Beaufort or Chukchi Sea. Depths there range into the hundreds of meters. The seafloor of that region has never been fully mapped. The author who wrote the most comprehensive account of the Baychimo concluded what the evidence suggested. She drifted with the prevailing currents and winds of the Beaufort Sea for nearly 4 decades before finally, quietly, going under. No confirmed date, no confirmed location, no wreckage. The most searched for ghost ship in the Arctic has no grave. It has only the last coordinates anyone thought to write down. In 1969, in a region where coordinates are the only language the sea understands, the 15 men who stayed behind on the ice in the winter of 1931 returned home in March of 1932. Captain John Cornwell filed the paperwork for the loss of the vessel. He listed her as gone. He was, in a technical sense, correct. The ship he had commanded was no longer his, no longer the company's, no longer anyone's. It belonged to the Arctic now, a ship without crew, without a purpose, drifting alone on the earth, surviving storms that had broken other vessels apart. The Arctic, in the end, kept what it was given. The ship has not been found.